are some things that we came up with as a group. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sister Bodie. Thank you. Thank you. Sister Alexandria, we all done?
Yes, we're all done.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And all right. Just want to share an item of special music with you now. Be blessed by it. Where is my son? Give me 30 seconds, folks, and we'll be ready. I don't know what happened with it just now. There we go.
Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the words and you will be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you gotta pat your own self on the back, yeah. You have to speak victory during the test, and no matter how you feel, speak the words over your life, and you will be healed. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to speak the word over yourself. The pressure is all around you, but God is present help. Oh, the enemy, he created walls, but remember giants, they do fall. Speak over yourself, encourage yourself in the Lord. As I minister to you, I minister to myself. Life can hurt you so till you feel there's nothing left. No matter how you feel, the words of my
Encourage yourself in the Lord. Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our two speakers for this evening. Our first speaker is Ms. Leslie Taylor. She holds a bachelor's degree in human services, a certificate in Christian counseling and psychology, and a certificate in social work. Ms. Taylor has a passion for helping people. She has worked with the Department of Social Services for the past 16 years as a trainee welfare officer. She has worked in several departments within the Ministry of Social Services, including community support, child protection, child care facilities, Bain Town and Grandstown Urban Renewal, Seniors Unit, Domestic Violence and Counseling and Tips Unit, and served as the victim care caseworker for trafficking in persons for over the five years. Ms. Taylor has worked diligently alongside a trafficking in person secretariat to ensure all identified victims receive the proper care and attention needed. This is inclusive of, but not limited to, ensuring that they receive shelter, medical attention. Medical attention, personal items, and whatever else is identified as being a need for the victim. She also provides emotional support to the victims to ensure that they have the assurance that their matter will be addressed and that the government of the Bahamas will do whatever is necessary to ensure their continued safety. She has been a vital member of the Trafficking in Persons Committee, and her efforts towards dealing with this concerned issue of trafficking in persons go above and beyond her call of duty. Presently, Ms. Taylor is attached to the Senior Citizens Division and is the social worker assigned to the LGBTQI population. Ms. Taylor is also a Red Cross volunteer and is the Bahamas ambassador for the Women of Culture, our first speaker. Then our second speaker is Pastor Barrington H. Brennan. He is a marriage and family therapist, counseling psychiatrist for 25 years. He also has special training in critical incident, disaster response, anger management, intimate partner abuse, family violence, anger management, preparing for marriage. He provides psychotherapy for individuals, couples, families, teens, and young children. He conducts seminars for families, couples, singles, corporations, schools, churches, etc. He also provides trauma response for those who have experienced national disasters and personal trauma. He holds 2 graduate degrees from Andrews University, Michigan, one in counseling psychology with emphasis in marital therapy and the other in religion. He also holds a certificate in youth work from the Commonwealth Secretariat. He has extensive training and experience in counseling pre-married and married couples, families, and individuals with personal and social issues. He also has special training and experience in dealing with intimate partner abuse, family violence, and anger management. Please help me welcome our 2 presenters, Ms. Leslie Taylor, who will be followed by Pastor Barrington H. Brennan.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Share. I'm trying to see how we could share this. Okay, open. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I think I have it now. Hope I'm correct. Let me know if you can see it. Yes. Can you see the?
We can.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. It's just
the presentation, Ms. Leslie.
Pardon me?
Open up the presentation. Go to the bottom. And then you see that like that hourglass thing. Just press that.
I'm looking now because I'm not that tech savvy.
That's fine. That's fine. Just go down to the bottom. Watch where the cursor is going.
Yes.
Go all the way to the bottom, right there.
Click. Okay. I see an hourglass thing. You say click on it and it should open.
Click on it, it should open.
Okay, let me see.
It's on the slide underneath the bubble picture, and the picture with the bubble.
This picture. I'm trying to open it.
See the little to the bottom of the slide show. Go way to the bottom of the slideshow. Bottom of the slideshow.
I'm to the bottom.
No, your mouse not to
Not
the
at the bottom.
All right, come. Okay.
Okay, I'm to the bottom now.
To the right.
To the right.
Go to the right.
All right.
See right there, right? To the bottom here, to the bottom here.
I'm looking, but I don't see. I thought I
Uh,
don't know if
Last-
you're seeing the same thing, but anyhow,
From the beginning, you can click from the beginning, right on the top of your slide. It says from beginning, slideshow, right
Yeah,
there.
that's right.
Right,
Yes.
yeah, click that.
like that. Okay.
There you go.
Now.
That's what it was.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All
Hello, everyone. It's just excellent to be here. Wow. Okay, now I hope we don't have those challenges anymore. I hope I can get this working. Yes, as mentioned, I'm Leslie Taylor, and I'm attached to the Department of Social Services. And I'm going to speak to you for a few minutes on human trafficking, sex trafficking, and its effects on the family. So since 2008, the Bahamas has been committed to assist in fighting and combating this heinous crime against humanity. Human trafficking, or trafficking in persons, is active and alive in the Bahamas today. Some of you may not think that it is, but it's very active in the Bahamas. What are some, going too fast. Damn. Okay, types of trafficking, human trafficking. We have sex trafficking, forced labor, forced marriage, and debt bondage. I want that to resonate with you. While I explain what is human trafficking. Human trafficking is the trade of humans for the purpose of forced labor, slavery, or commercial sexual exploitation for the traffickers or others. Persons are held against their will and forced to or coerced to do acts that they don't want to. In most cases, we have a lot of sex trafficking. Who can become a victim? Anyone can become a victim of trafficking, regardless of the gender, the age. We have transgenders. I slot that in because a lot of people forget about them, but they have persons that are gay or persons who might be desirous to change over, like cross over to a lady or a man to a woman or a woman to a man. And then you have persons of different nationalities. It can be a male, or it can be a female, or it can be a child. Who are the traffickers? The traffickers can be anyone. No one is exempted. It could be a friend. It can be a church member. It could be a neighbor. It could be a family member. Most times, it is a person or someone that you know. I want to pause right there, and I want to just share two scenarios that happened actually in the Bahamas. And I thought, well, actually I have three, but I thought I should share these two with you because they stood out with me, seeing that it was, we're talking about families and how families can be affected. So we have a 12-year-old girl, a Bahamian girl. Her mother went to the States to live, and she was abandoned by her mother and left to reside with her maternal aunt. During the care of her maternal aunt, the aunt paramour sexually abused her over and repeatedly. She did not say anything because she was threatened. And she threatened to kill her aunt, to kill her mom. And as a 12-year-old, you wouldn't be thinking like, okay, well, I could probably tell someone. you're thinking that, okay, this guy, he really can do it. All depends on what force he used. And so she allowed him to sexually abuse her and also to refer her to other men. She was exploited by other men for several years. She became pregnant in one time, and then I think the guidance counselor was inquiring as to how she got pregnant, who was the father, but she refused to mention or divulge who the person was. Now, I want to say that little piece because a long time ago, I remember when I had a friend that was in a domestic situation, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why she wouldn't leave this guy. What is the purpose? Why she's just staying there? And she had opportunities to run and she didn't run. I remember now, as a young person, the trafficker, what he did was it was something called trauma bonding. She was so afraid, so traumatized by this man. She didn't move or run even when she had opportunity to. Now this lasts until she was 19 years of age. When the aunt finally find out about what her boyfriend was doing, she also in turn started to traffic the young lady. And another thing I want to mention, trafficking can be done right from one room into another room, one island to another island. Don't have to go all the way to the States. Like people saying it have to be something global. No, it could happen right here. So we have to be visual. We have to be observant. Most times it happens right in our face and we're not aware of it. So, and another thing is, another scenario is a 33-year-old lady, unemployed mother of 7, who answered an ad seeking for a young woman to work as a kitchen helper on the Bahama Keys. Oh, this was very excited. Oh my God, $100 a day. It was too good to be true. And it was too good to be true. All expenses paid. Remember we mentioned debt service. Okay, all expense paid. Private plane came over, took her to one of the Bahama Keys. And when she arrived, she left her 7 children with her mother, all supposed to be well and good. When she arrived, her passports and documents were taken from her, and she was told immediately, you didn't come for that job, you came for this job. And she became a sex slave. For several months, she was unable to escape. These things are happening right here. I want our eyes to open and our ears to listen. The Bible says we have ears that cannot hear, eyes that cannot see, and mouth that cannot speak. We have spiritual eyes, ears, and mouth. And so sometimes we have to tune in to God and listen, hear, and watch. Because I remember one time I saw some Cuban women, and they had this big guy who answered all the questions for them, like they didn't have any mouth. And seeing that, I just thought, oh, well, they probably can't speak English or whatever. But not knowing until I got the information now as a person knowing about trafficking, that those ladies were being trafficked. But I didn't know that at the time. So sometimes we have to, not sometimes, every time we have to keep our eyes open for the smaller things. Maybe you might go to a hairdresser store or the beauty parlor to get your hair done, and you may notice, because sex traffickers need to look good. So what they're going to do, make sure that the ladies have their hair done, their nails done, their makeup done, or they buy lingerie, things like that. If you notice things like that in the food store, a man walking behind him, this big man, to purchase the items that they need, watch out for little things like that. And it don't have to be just foreigners. It could be Bahamians, like I'm mentioning right now about the story. So continue on with the story. So the lady, she found out that she had to do these sex acts, and she did sex acts with several men, numerous dimensions. And during one of the acts, she broke down and cried because, you, as a mother, you miss your children, you miss your family, and nobody know where you are. No one could reach her, nothing. So she just told the guy who paid for her that night what was going on. It so happens that the gentleman contacted the police and she was rescued. But those two incidents that I mentioned don't normally happen. Sometimes you are in a trafficking situation for years and years and years and passed on to several people, because sometimes when you are unable to deal with sexually, then they find that they could use your organs, your eyes. Yes, they use your eyes, they use the skin, your skin, they use your kidneys and your heart. These things are very expensive on the black market. People need them. And so when they see that you're not profitable anymore in that particular area that they were using you for, then they use you for another area. And then sometimes they use you to just be a laborer, a slave labor, working in sex shops. Another thing I wanted to mention too, when I heard someone mention about pornography, some of the victims are given drugs and are used as porn stars, not knowing what they're doing. And so when we gratify our selfishness and our flesh to purchase sex videos and all these things, we are actually buying into that product. So I just wanted to mention that. And we go on to the next slide. The effects of human trafficking on the family. There are many negative effects, and I just thought to list a few positive, but the negatives are, like I mentioned, trauma bonding, where you are so loyal to the person, even after being raped, brutalized, drugged, you still want to protect and be loyal to the person and do so much harm. That happens. That happens to many of the victims that I have served. The negativeness is so traumatic. Is not trusting. I want to mention too, with the lady with the 7 children. Once she was secured, I as the care provider would have to meet all of her needs, not just her needs, but by extension, her needs of her children. And imagine whatever that lady is going through, all of the negatives, depression, separation, self-esteem, being vulnerable and hopeless. Also being fearful and scared all the time, looking behind, always looking over your shoulder for any little thing. Sometimes the slightest noise you jump, or you try and overprotecting your children. Remember, these kids have to go to school, to work along with other children. And so everything that that victim goes through, so does her child or children. And so in the church aspect, we have to keep our eyes open. Now COVID has caused so much different things. We can't see them as we would like to, but we can call, we can check on them. These are the negative: fearfulness, not trusting, traumatic stress disorder. The positive effects of it after they've been found and brought to the trafficking in persons area, automatically we counsel, therapeutic counseling. As a church movement, as us now, we can get involved by participating, helping in the area of the family. Once you know that family has had that issue, or is brought to your attention, then you know that as a group, the church have to get involved and have to share and have to see how best they can assist them. And the positiveness of the effects of the family is there's a sense of relief. Now you know that your child is back. You was worried that she might have been dead or something, something did happen bad to her, but she's back safely. Then you have to build the trust again and the rebuilding of the family. That is very, very, very important so that they could go back into society and function. The lady that was 12 years old, the girl, she got a job and she happened to meet, was functioning well in society, had a counselor, everything seemed to be good. And then she met one of the persons who had trafficked her or had some intercourse with her. And they made a statement to her while she was working, and she had a meltdown on the job. And so even though you think that you're cured of these things, it's always a consistent, you have to continue, counseling, continue, sharing, continue, trying to build self-esteem, because you may have an incident like the lady, the 12-year-old. So it's good that everyone, I heard someone mention community, everyone have to be helpful and sharing with those persons that were affected. Also, what can we do? What can we do? One person who notice and call for help can make a difference. Since I mentioned also, COVID has changed so many different dynamics in the family and in the church. We could use social media To send a message out. We could use Zoom meeting, town meeting, not much of that we can do. However, the kids are always online doing something. Everybody online doing something. Maybe you can send some shout outs, some awareness here and awareness there to let them know that it's an active thing and it's out there and we need to see how we can combat it. We can all aid in the fight to combat this crime with the family by being vigilant, like I mentioned before, keeping our eyes and ears on the ground. Call family members to see how they doing, not just chatting, but by video. Put the video on. Let me see what you're doing. Let me see in the house. Look at their voice tone. Listen to their voice tone, their speech. Look for signs. When you meet face to face, look for signs. We don't do much of that, but whenever we do, look for signs, little things that will shout out. Because sometimes I mentioned at the bottom, persons can become very guarded when they're experiencing trauma. They're not going to tell you. They will hide. Domestic victim hide the blows. They patch it with makeup. So a trafficker wouldn't allow you to know, or someone who's being trafficked wouldn't allow you to know that they're being trafficked. The 12-year-old girl went to school, every day and had an issue. So we have to be very vigilant. And last but not least, I don't want to take up all of your time. If you see something, someone mentioned this and I smiled. I think Ms. Bristol, if you see something, say something. That's something I always use. And the numbers listed, the police department 919, the national hotline, and it's a 24-hour hotline. You can call that hotline for anything that you need, any national emergency. It's very important because it don't have to be traffic and it can be anything. Domestic violence, could be child abuse, anything. The numbers are 322-2763 or 422-2763. And then you have the crisis center that assists us with so many different things, counseling and for children, for family, everything. And the number there is 328-0928. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here. And I was happy to share that little tidbit of trafficking with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Taylor. Thank you so much. And of course, we have Q&A after Pastor Brennan's presentation. So you're going to get to ask your questions. So write them down, make a note on your phone, do whatever you need to do. We're going to have a nice Q&A after Pastor Brennan's presentation. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pastor Barrington Brennan.
Sorry, good afternoon. I'm here. I just want to put on my video. I got a little nervous here. Should have been up already. Sorry. Why can't I get this the way I want to get it? Slides up, right? Thing.
Slide is up, sir.
Yes, sorry, and I just want my video to come up, and I forget where to go and get the. Anyway, okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let's go on. I want to move as fast as I could as I deal with the topic today. It's not moving forward. Okay, good. Pornography addiction and abuse. I'm going to share with you some of my own information and some information coming directly from the presentation for today, prepared by the Founding Ministries Director of the General Conference, he and his wife. And so we're going to talk about this most important topic as quickly as we go on, the pornography addiction and how it impacts abuse. Okay. And porn is very serious, estimated $97 billion with 12 billion of that coming from the United States. All right. And the consumption of pornography in the United States has climbed sharply. And it has also climbed very sharply in the past 10 years in the Bahamas, and even more greater since cable Bahamas came along. More than 75% of Americans view pornography at least once a month, and the same I'm learning in the Bahamas. Okay, and that's so important. Pornography, or porn or porno, is the portrayal of sexual subject matter for the purpose of sexual arousal. Pornography may be presented in a variety of media, including books, magazine, postcards, photographs, sculpture, drawing, painting, animation, sound recording, film, video, and video games. All right. Now, it's interesting to know in the study that was done years ago, that from the Kaiser study, children aged 8 to 18, total media exposure 8.5 hours. I just had a client this week, a 13-year-old girl being, all right, and then 75% between that age had internet access, and only 46% with household media rules. Now you begin to see the picture. So there is a growing global concern with regard to development of an inordinate attachment to the internet. Those concerned include mental health professionals and school professionals, and also scientists like myself, mental health professionals, plus advocates for spiritual and family values. It's a growing concern, and has been and continue to grow even within our church, within the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Sadly, I must say it here, this is, by the way, what I'm going to tell you is one of the reasons the Adventist Church worldwide started Abuse Prevention Day in 2001, which mutated into, ended now, or adopted that name in 2008 or 10. Every year, more than 60 to 100 Adventist employees, including mostly pastors and teachers, are sued for sexual abuse. It costs the church millions of dollars, and so we need to deal with it. Okay, when Andrews University, yes, I'm going to tell you what university, put a filter in place, it regained 75% of its bandwidth. It had a good security system, but it was not good enough, so they had to change it because too many students were going on in porn sites. And listen to this. Internet pornography article in the Adventist Review just about 5 years ago received more reader responses than any other non-doctrinal article in the publication's history. So you see why we need to do this. So an average daily pornographic emails, 4.5 per internet user, and monthly pornographic download, 1.5 billion, or 35% of the downloads. Estimated 1,000 to 2,000 porn sites are added daily. That's very serious. So sexual solicitation of youth is made in chat rooms. 89%. I don't know if you could remember MySpace. I have an account on MySpace, and I hi-fi and all those. I went in all those places just to put my name so people can reach me. I didn't know what kind of site it was. 10 years ago, up to 10 years ago, not sure what it is now, on MySpace, which was the largest way before WhatsApp and all those places, at one time there could be at least 50,000 sex predators on MySpace in one given hour, looking for people with their emails that say Susie Bumpy Lumpy and Sugar Boy and hot boobs. That's what they look for at first. 50,000 sex predators on MySpace in 1 hour. And youth who receive sexual solicitation, at least 20%, all right? An average age, listen to this now, of first internet exposure to pornography, 11 years old. Not necessarily in every country, but that's the average age. Oh, now, we're not saying it's younger. That's the average age. I've had children that's 6 and 5 and 8-year-old and so forth, okay? 15 to 7-year-olds having multiple hardcore exposure, 80%. And 16 to 18-year-olds having viewed porn online, 90% while doing homework. I want you to get that. Okay. So it's quite interesting. Some of the information that the family ministry put up, 64% of self-identified Christian men and 15% of self-identified Christian women view pornography at least once a month, compared to 65% of non-Christian men and 30% of non-Christian women. Quite serious, isn't it? Quite serious. And listen to this, 33% of clergy. Now, this is not Adventist only. This is Adventist included, all clergy, say that they visited a sexually explicit website. Of those who have visited sexually explicit website, 53% say they have visited the site a few times in the past years, and 18% they have visited the explicit website between a couple of times a month and more than once a week. While a student at West Indies, not a student, while working as a pastor and director of social development at West Indies College in Mandeville, Jamaica, now Northern Caribbean University, I had the surprise of my life when a young theologian, a young student in the theology department, religion department, when the subject of pornography came up, because I did a lot of talks on Friday night after Vespers and with young people, quite popular, those talks. He came to me and said, I didn't know something was wrong with pornography. I thought it was healthy and good for married couples to do that. So he was planning and waiting that when he get married, as a pastor, by the way, that he will be starting to use pornography. It's called the blue movies in Jamaica. So that's not unique to Jamaica. I'm just telling you what my exposure was, and I had to have a good talk with him. And much research has confirmed that those who consume even non-violent porn are more likely to support statements that agree with or even promote abuse and sexual aggression towards women. Are you seeing the link between porn and abuse? Okay. In a large study conducted in 2016, the researchers concluded that on the average, individuals who consume pornography more frequently are more likely to hold attitudes conducive to sexual aggression and engage in actual acts of sexual aggression. Now, I've seen that in my therapy room with clients a lot, okay? And then when it comes to marital relationships, at least every week, the subject of explicit sexual images on a partner's phone, pornography, and all that comes in, and the other partner, usually the women, are upset. They find it on their partner's phone, their male partner's phone. It always causes a problem. We have parents who have risky behavior. There are no boundaries on the use of digital gadgets, whatever they are, the computer, the iPhone, the iPad, the smart, whatever. There are no boundaries of time. There are no security guards in place for the internet. There's little or no supervision. And I might have told you before that I had to counsel an Adventist family many years ago because the 11 and 13-year-old sons came across pornography on their phone. How did they get it? Listen carefully. I might have told you this before, but I must repeat it. The Pathfinder Club gave an assignment for their Pathfinders, the directors, the supervisors, they call them the master guys. They were talking about sex, and they asked everyone to go home. These were 11, 12, 13-year-olds to go home for the week and do research on masturbation. That sounds well and good, but what that did was the guy told me that when he typed in masturbation, these links came up and these pictures started popping up. So I told the particular club involved, don't do that again. Whenever you give certain instructions that will involve family, love, sex, romance, you be in their presence. Okay. So they were accidentally introduced to it and they got hooked for a little while. So here's another problem that happens. Children watch their parents having sex. Some parents have sex while their children are in the room. They think they're sleeping. Now, we think this only happens to people who are not socially intelligent or not intellectually wise. No, it happens a lot there too, but it happens even among so-called normal parents, mom and dads. I'm not talking about the good people in the room. I'm talking about the lifestyle they live also, many of them. And these are exposed to their children. So here is another true story that I had to deal with. A little boy was pulled or induced or seduced, to come under the bed by a little girl. And he took his hand to put on her vagina. Okay. That shocked him. Guess what we learned? That is what she watched her mother do every night with different men. Are you getting it? Okay. So many children are exposed to pictures and videos while parents left open their gadgets. So the parents would go on a different website, put it down or on the phone or different places, and they see things come up. They may see things daddy sent to mommy or sent to a woman or mother sent to someone else. So they are having this kind of behavior that is very dangerous to exposing children to things they're not ready to handle or they should not handle. So why is pornography so bad? Pornography demeans the objective and objectifies females. Yes. Well, there's male pornography too, but the great percentage is still about females. It also demeans the humanness of males also. Often the participants are not married. Visual stimulation from someone other than your spouse is dangerous and sinful. Pornography violates the principle of faithfulness. Unfortunately, a lot of these porn stars men have unusually large penis. And so we watching it, we say, we can try to get one like that too, but they don't sell them in Kelly's. That's the one thing. But they do things to try enlargement. Many of them have unusual staying power. They are freaks. They're on pills, they're drugs or whatever. And their unusual lengths of orgasm, or do we say in the Bahamas when they come, and multiple orgasms, and we think that we can have this done to us. Okay. And many of them are on pills. And by the way, when you sit down and watch a 15-minute porn scene, you're not aware that that porn scene actually took 4 hours or 4 days to make. And you're trying to repeat that in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 1 hour. Dangerous. Porn contributes to social and psychological problems with men. Porn rewires the male brain. It changes. Porn produces a chemical in the mind, an endorphin, that gives one a sense of euphoria. And you keep on trying to get that sense back, and sometimes it doesn't. I had a young man several months ago. No porn. He has seen so much porn from early preteen to, and I think he's over 30 now, that it doesn't move him anymore. So he goes to something else. It gets boring, all right? And porn turns into masturbation. Porn squashes the beauty of a real naked woman or a real naked man, your husband, your wife. Porn lies about what it means to be male and female, and it changes chemistry in the brain. Yeah, that leads to addiction. Okay. So if one would think just looking at a naked body is okay, well, by the way, just to be technical as a professional, we are not dealing with the fact that you see a naked body. We are dealing with the fact of seeing a naked body for visual sexual stimulation. I watched the movie Schindler's List, the true story by Spielberg. It's an R-rated movie. There's no porn in it, but some people may define it as porn, but it's just nudity when the naked Jews were lined up to go into the train by Hitler. You saw it from a distance. Now, that's not pornography necessarily at all, but that was not done for sexual excitement and arousal. Neither was it in the picture. All right. So the fact of seeing the naked body is not always the problem. In fact, you need to see your husband or wife's naked body. But the thing is, when you go outside of that and you look for pictures or videos or text for sexual stimulation. So what are some symptoms of pornography addiction? Sexual dysfunction, such as erectile dysfunction, and maybe delayed ejaculation. And by the way, remember, when there is pornography, there's always masturbation, there's always abuse. And it's once there's compulsive addiction, compulsive pornography viewing, that's addiction. There's decreased sensitivity from overstimulation. There's fatigue, and then the psychological symptoms: low self-esteem or self-confidence, shame, a sense of shame, low mood or agitated mood, lack of motivation, decreased libido, disinterest in sex in favor of porn, clouding of consciousness or brain fog. You can't think clearly, all right? So we can see now, as we said earlier, that porn lowers the dignity and concept of what a woman is. What's the word? Objectifies women or people. I was so happy when they stop in some countries using bikini bathing suits for Miss Universe pageant or national beauty pageants. Do you know that in some parts of Europe, 90 years ago and 70 years ago, that they had a policeman or warden that would go on the beach where the people are swimming and measure the length of the women's tunic, because it was illegal to wear anything that was too short to go in the sea. They had to, now you do that now, we got to measure the flesh more than the tunic. It is interesting. So now people say it is a private matter. Research shows that porn makes many consumers more likely to support violence against women. You got that? So in the world of internet clouds, tablet computers, and handheld devices, the war against pornography will probably never be completely won. And unfortunately, and all those forces, the church plays a unique role in how women and the weak should be treated, and the proper role of sex within the context of marriage. This is so true, and I'm so glad our church emphasizing abuse in general more and more. Many years ago, I had another client, a young lady who's beautiful, active, vibrant young lady today, whose father was having sex with her for maybe 15 years, up to the age of 23 or 24. And it was terrible emotionally, to the point that she developed a psychological disorder, dissociative disorder. So every time her father would have sex with her, she would transport her mind someplace else. And that's what kept her going. Now, without having sex with anyone, she had these terrible experiences that is almost gone now, but without having sex anymore, they will have these flashbacks. That's how dangerous all these things. And by the way, pornography was a part of it, not to her or for her father. Okay, so this is very serious. Many men in church may think, in common with other men, that viewing pornography is a private matter. The reality is that even occasional use of pornography affects how they view women. The most important, their relationship with Christ. That's so true. So as we come on down to the end, we need to start the journey to freedom. As the founding minister director said, break the addiction. Yes, addiction to pornography. The sooner, the better. Break it hard. Break it up. Breaking up is hard to do, but it is the only way. In the Adventist Book Center, and I hope they still have it, there is a book there written by a pastor, a young Adventist pastor, who was the host for one of Dwight Nelson's worldwide telecast evangelistic series one year. I think it's Ben Anderson, can't remember his name. He admitted that he was hooked on pornography, and he sought help, and he wrote a book about it. Okay, and that is what is needed, people to be frank and honest. Now, how do you get help? And I was so glad that they included this. You can see these websites here. Now, this is not saying myself or others in the Bahamas can't do it, but many times these websites allow people to search and research in the privacy of their home to build up more confidence, to try to seek help first face-to-face, okay? So newfreedomtolove.org and gatewaytowholeness.com. These can provide you encouragement. Take those down and seek them out. These are good websites to check or to get the initial help at least. Guard your mind. It is a hard matter. Proverbs 4:23, carefully guard your thoughts because they are the source of true life. All right. So while porn and intimate partner violence are dangerous kissing cousins, you too do not have to be the instrument of your spouse and others, the hapless victims. It is in your power to make the decision and take the steps necessary, beginning today, to end both of the toxic poisons or poisonous device of the devil before they destroy others and you. I just want to just as I come on down here, to remind us that this exists in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. The only reason the Adventist Church started Abuse Prevention Day was because of what was happening among us. And I need you to get that. The Flowers, when they were family ministries directors of a GC, they did a survey around the world from 10 of the divisions. I can't remember how many responded on abuse. 10,000 or 20,000, I can't remember, Seventh-day Adventists. And the statistics are startling. The most prevalent of abuse was in Samoa or New Guinea place over there. But everyone, the average was 25 or 37% of women, up to 65% of women experience abuse at least once, these Adventist women, and men up to 25%. It is very serious. And I just want to let you know that in 2001, the Adventist Church voted to have Abuse Prevention Day to promote and educate on this subject of abuse in all forms, sponsored by the women's ministries and all of the departments, just about all the departments within the church, but monitored by the women's ministries. In 1997, I came back from Andrews University with my degree. I was pastoring at Johnson Park Church from 96. Johnson Park Church was the first to have Abuse Prevention Sabbath. This is long before the General Conference started it in 1997. And of course, during those years and after that, many of our leaders and our members were not so enthralled about it. as a family ministries director from maybe 2005 to 2010 or 2001, 2010, and communication director, I would send leaflets out to pastors, all these booklets that you got, all these slides. Very few churches did it. Now today, more and more churches are doing it. In 2001, they started officially Abuse Prevention Day around the world. In 2008, I think it is, ADRA started another program called End It Now to promote stopping violence around the world. So eventually by 2015, the General Conference merged the both, and Adventist Abuse Prevention Sabbath adopted End It Now, and ADRA moved out of the background, and it's now End It Now. So we're happy for this. The text I'd like you to remember: keep your mind pure. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. Philippians 4 verse 8, the New International Version. If you'd like to reach me, here are my numbers. You can text me, you can WhatsApp me. These are all public numbers. They're not private numbers. You can share them with anyone in the world. My email and my website, where I have hundreds of articles and many on this topic. All right, so I suppose we have question and answers for two of our presenters, for two of us to answer. You can go on. I can stop sharing my thing.
Wow. Thank you so much, Pastor Brennan. Thank you so much. And of course, thank you to Ms. Taylor as well for her very informative presentation. Thank you both for sharing with us this evening. No, I'm not doing the word of thanks. I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I'm seeing it in the chat saying amen, thank you. And of course, we now invite you to place your questions in the chat, or ma'am, we can allow you to unmute your mic as well to ask your questions to Ms. Taylor or Pastor Brennan. Ms. Taylor, I would like to ask one. You mentioned something about trauma bonding. And you mentioned someone who would have been in an abusive situation. And I know I would have spoken to someone who had some challenges in a relationship with a partner, and there was violence involved, and this individual just could not seem to get out of it. And from what I'm hearing from you, there's this thing called trauma bonding. How serious is trauma bonding?
Very serious. Now, this is not my area of
Okay, all right.
Probably Brother Brennan, but then what I know about it is that you become so entrenched into the abuser or the person that's committing this crime towards you, you forget about all the harm to yourself, and you're bonded to this person, even though you're being abused, you're being battered, whatever, but you just have everything pointing towards that person. They ask if the person hurt you. No. I don't know if you ever heard this story. He brought me flowers again. The flowers that he brought, the last flowers was dead. Because several times they went back and forth, trying to get the person out of that abusive relationship. I told you that bothered me so much to know that someone was in a traumatic situation but refused to leave the person doing the abuse. And so I'm not too familiar, but I'm sure that Dr. Brennan could share a little more on that.
Just briefly.
Yes.
Another word we use is clinging. When you see little children in particular, or young children clinging to an adult, mom or dad. Now you have to be trained for this. I don't want you to look at everyone who's clinging and, oh, he's been abused. No, but that's usually a sign, because the child would have been brainwashed, threatened, intimidated by the one that they should love them dearly. There's this cognitive dissonance, so to speak. And so they cling, hoping that their demonstration of love maybe will stop what is happening. And let me give you another one too, quickly. I've had this clients like this several times where they're a victim of abuse was was rude and no manners, using Bahamian terms in the family, in the home. And the wife, but the wife never suspected that the one who was being abused was being, the one who was rude, the child, was really being abused by the daddy. All right. The daddy used physical beating to cover up his behavior. And in one of my cases, it was not until the child became an adult that the mother found out that was the way he covered it, because the child would be rebellious and acting out, and he would take her and pull her and slap her up and beat her up. So the mother saw she was rude. Okay, daddy was doing a good job, but that was one of his camouflage activities.
Thank you, Pastor Brennan. Got a question in the chat, and it says, what's the difference between kidnapping and human trafficking?
The difference is, well, there's a difference. They normally ask what's the difference with smuggling and trafficking, but kidnapping is a part of trafficking because you're coerced and you're forced, and then by force and you're removed. So it's basically a part of trafficking, kidnapping. There's a difference with smuggling and trafficking. There's a fine line between those two, but kidnapping and trafficking is basically the same thing.
And just remind them, madam, that many can be trafficked and they're not aware until they finish at the end of the traffic, if you understand me. you got me, right?
Say that again.
A young woman, just saying, oh wait, she the story she gave when the one went to the island, she didn't know she was being trafficking until she reached the end of the traffic.
Yeah.
You got me?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it can be very sweet. It can be very look safe. This is why we have to teach our children and our adults how to look for cues. And do not be too free and open. Don't jump in a car. You know, if I saw Edith Roach on the street 2:00 in the morning because her car broke down, forgive me, Edith Roach, because of the day, I'm going to drive around and make sure no one ain't using you first. Or call the police and say, this lady didn't go together. It's 2:00 in the morning. Because that's what they do. That's what they do also. Not Edith. They will be kidnapping Edith, pretend like she's on the side of the road and get you to stop. Oh, there's so many things.
All right. I don't see any hands raised in the chat. Yes. All right, Sister Bodhi. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to know, right? What I'm living on Cat Island. What programs are in place to deal with situations like these on the family islands?
Good question.
As far, I'd like to speak first, Dr. Brennan. As far as human trafficking, there's a social worker on basically every family island or attached to every family island. And the information is there. It's just for them to actually send it out or to make people aware. But there are persons on the family island, social workers, able-bodied social workers, to share this information on every family island.
Yeah, and the number for the crisis center, those numbers you gave, ma'am, are what can happen. Now, we need to advance more in our country. We don't really have a rape hotline only for rape. We need some more highly specialized protocols and those kinds of assistance. Although we have some, and we have a lot of very good programs many don't know about, but there's still some things missing to help the victims in our country that we need to do better with.
I just want to interject. The crisis center, when I worked and volunteered with them some years ago, had an excellent rape team because I was a rape advocate. And
yeah, they do.
Yes. And so I think at that time it was really good because normally when we would be called by the police or whomever, we would go automatically. They have a room called the Love Room at the hospital. And so we would go there and assist the rape victim. So I think their program is okay. It's pretty good. That's one
yes,
of the
and also
ones
the
that
police. Also, the police detective room finally set up several years ago for when a woman was raped and they had to take in there so she can feel safe. It's a lovely place. But I wasn't speaking about that. We need still in advance where there is a couple of my colleagues were talking about it. We have a good program, and I'm one of the volunteers, not for counseling but for helping the crisis center. That the public will have at the tips of their fingers. They call this number. This is the website, and there is no judicial protocol. Clearly, the public will understand. But although we have many good programs, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, yes, all right.
While we're waiting on Elder, is trauma bonding is the same as Stockholm syndrome?
Dr. Brennan, I have one for you.
He's muted.
Sorry. Yes, I thought that someone muted me. I can't answer that question. I can't remember what Stockholm syndrome was. I supposed to know. Forgive me. Is that post-traumatic stress disorder? Go ahead, Madam, Miss Leslie.
I was saying, Dr. Brennan, I said that one for you, the psychologist, is that out of my league. But then,
All right. Okay.
Well, let me say what it is, if I remember. When the someone is kidnapped or whatever, they get attached to the one who is abusing them. All right. So what was the question?
Oh, they had asked, is trauma bonding the same as Stockholm syndrome?
It's can be similar to, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have other terms, I think, for Stockholm syndrome today, just like PTSD now instead of something else.
Okay, all right. And it seems as though all the questions are going in the direction of trafficking. So let me ask this one that someone talked is, how can you help someone who is addicted to porn, or how can an individual prevent the addiction?
And the first one is easier. The last one is harder.
Yeah.
How to help someone?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying that's easy, but first, if the person wants help, it makes it easier for the one who is helping. Secondly, we have to help them to get rid of all avenues they would use for porn access. Thirdly, we try to hook up with a what do you call someone, an accountability partner. Okay.
Right.
Who will be a close friend in addition to the therapist that they can trust, that will make sure that they are following their programs. Number three, some people, not everyone, may have to put a lock or a porn grabber or prevention on their phone or their website. I have a client that his wife did it to him. I didn't tell him, his wife did it to him. She put it, and she set it up. Listen, she set it up where if he went on a porn site, it will bing on her phone, whether she's in Germany or Andros. Okay. Now, another avenue I have used in the past 5 years is encourage some of my clients to go to Every Man's Battle. You hear it on our radio station on Sunday. I've had a couple of clients go there. It's a Christian, but very psychological based also, by New Life Live. And you can type in New Life Live on the web and then click on events. You will see Every Man's Battle. I'm trying to get a man there now, but it's kind of expensive. $1,300 for a weekend there, face to face. That's not including the ticket, the food, or the plane, or the hotel. They had it online for $600 for one day. but it's normally a weekend, a Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It's not an Adventist, but it's very deeply spiritual. I've had quite a couple of clients. I send them, and the program is excellent. They get help. So these are some of the avenues. The person must admit they need help, seek help, and seek professional help also. Of course, we don't want them admit praying, but when you get up off your knees, you got to go and act out the prayer.
That's right. That's right. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr.
Michael, just
Yes.
1 second, sorry, for Dr. Brennan. I was aware of a person, a Christian young lady, who had an addiction. I know we talk about men a lot, but women have similar issues. And she used the porn site as a pacifier. When I was told about it, she said it wasn't that she wanted gratification in terms of masturbating and all of that, but she wanted to see it. It was like a pacifier. Just seeing it relaxed her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so bad as a Christian person. Sometimes when she go near a computer, any phone, she had this desire. You mentioned it earlier, this desire to just go and touch it or go cut it on. And you talked about a person, someone who would come and assist or try to help you not to do those things. These things are real in the church. And I'm grateful that you brought it up and you talk about it, because these topics do never hardly come up in the church because it's looked at as taboo. But what do you say to that person who was using it to gratify as a
They just moved from
Yeah.
one addiction to another. It's like someone who smokes a lot and they go to the Al-Anon. I'll go to the AA in Nassau, and I had to call the runner of this. They're coming off alcohol, but everyone is smoking inside the place. So they move from alcohol to cigarette. It's sort of a similar thing what she was doing, because her addiction was in real life. Now she goes to something that doesn't appear to real life. So she rationalizes it, but she ends up in the long run with the same issues, maybe low self-esteem, instant gratification that fades, her sex drive, her libido may go down, so she will, and then how she feels about not doing it drives her to do it, and that has to be worked on. So it's not a wise thing to do, to move to that. It's like, the people, they don't smoke cigarette, but they smoke the e-cigarettes now. Now they know it's just as bad as a cigarette. So you're just moving from one vice to another.
All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you, audience, for your questions. Thank you, Pastor Brennan and Ms. Taylor, for responding so ably to these questions. We've come to the end of our program. It's 7:34, and we're going to invite our Women's Ministries leader, Sister Annie Mae and Bristol, to come now with our vote of thanks.
Wow, that was some powerful, powerful information. I want to say a special thank you to our two presenters, Pastor Barrington Brennan and Miss Leslie Taylor, who gave us lots of food for thought. Because these topics, while some may think it's sensitive to talk about, we need to hear it in our churches and our homes. It affects our family in some sort of way. And if you don't think it doesn't affect your family, it affects somebody you know. So thanks again, Ms. Taylor and Pastor Brennan. I want to say from the Women's Ministry Department, thank you to our family ministry, our men's ministry, our children's ministry, youth ministry, who collaborated with us to make today's program a success. Thank you to all who participated in today's divine worship. And what would this program be if you, our church members, and our guests alike did not log on to this afternoon's program? Pastor Brennan and Ms. Taylor would have been talking to me, McCoy, and the rest of the team. So each one of you, we want to say thank you for joining us this evening. And I want to say a special thank you to my Women's Ministry Director, Sister Jacqueline Gibson, who logged in on the program this evening. And thank you so much for supporting us this evening on this program. And so as we close the session this evening, we are reminded again to say no to violence and end the silence. If you see something, say something, end it now. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Let's bow our heads. We pray, Father in heaven, we thank you so very much for what you have done this afternoon. And we thank you for the presentation by Pastor Brennan and Leslie. And we ask that you will allow us to just allow this information to simmer in our minds and our hearts and help us to be on the lookout. Help us to speak up when violence is taking place. And may we be better Christians for you, we ask. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good evening, everybody. Have a wonderful week and stay safe.